life, and looking closely on what our president is going to read for us through the Minister of Finance is very, very critical for us to know which sectors will work and which ones will not work for us.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Kent. Good afternoon, viewers. My name is Emmanuel Keith Chisame. I work with the Advocates Coalition for Development and Environment, popularly known as ACCORD, as a research fellow there under the Center for Budget and Economic Governance.
Well, Keith doesn't seem to be excited about the day, or perhaps the mood is a little changed somewhere, somehow. But anyway, gentlemen, let's get straight into budget talk. 44 point something trillion it is approved for this particular reading. And, well, a big chunk of it, probably about way over 10 trillion, is going to be going into repaying debt. Does that cause any sort of alarm?
Well, debt sustainability is something that I actually talked about yesterday morning. I was in this very studio, and I was explaining to the viewers yesterday that debt sustainability looks at our ability to pay the debt. So we are looking at debt that is mostly on concessional terms, which means that it is to be paid over a long period of time, and it is accruing very low interest rates. So the majority of that debt is concessional in nature, and so our debt remains sustainable, both in the immediate and in the medium and long term. The challenge, which is pertinent to the question that you've raised, is the cost, or the opportunity cost, the money that the things that money could alternatively be doing is where the challenge is. So that over 10 trillion could be building schools, putting the medicine in hospital and all those things. So there is a bit of a trade-off, and that's where I think the challenge is.
Probably now I'll take this query to Bwana Siraj. You do realize that allocations were made and as well approved. That's the reason for which it's going to be read today. Two particular sectors are getting the biggest share of the cake. That is governance as well as human capital. Do you feel content with this kind of allocation?
Thank you so much. I wanted to make a small note on the public debt before I come into your question, because it is very important to note that the public debt we paid, when we pay taxes, but paying the debt which we are not consuming at the moment, we are paying money for previous debt. So if you have joined the tax previous consumption, if you have joined the tax bracket now and you are paying, your money is not going to help you do the service, but it is going to service the debt of people who consumed it some time back. And that's why if you talk about 44.7 trillion budget and you knock off the 10 that you have talked about, 10 yes, 10 plus, then you are remaining with close to 30 something. So that means the money available for the tangible service now lowers by way of giving money for the what? For the debt, and that's not good, because you have already consumed. And particularly, debts are not very bad. The question would be, what did that money do? Did it provide the service that we want? Then we should be able to say, yes, it has had a ripple down effect, and therefore the economy has grown because we used the debt very well. So the biggest problem we have is not whether we are having the debt, but what we are using the debt for.
Yes.
If it is able to bring value to us, that's the very important. Coming to the question of human capital development, which is a very key sector, I think we need to also revise this kind of programming. Because when someone tells you 7 trillion for human capital development, say, oh, that's huge. But I think that's not huge considering the ingredients of the human capital development.
Breakdown, yes.
Because the human capital development is composed of two critical sectors of the economy. That is health sector and education sector. These are big sectors. If you look at health getting around 3.3 trillion.
It actually scored less because of the initial financial muscle it received during the COVID year of 2020.
Yes, but still, considering the situation we are in now, number one top priority problem of Uganda is health. And therefore, if you are giving 3.3, considering the challenges that we have now regarding ICUs that we need, regarding the vaccination, as I talk now, the vaccination is not there. The vaccines are not there. We need more money to make sure that vaccines are available. As we talk, COVID is becoming very severe. You cannot know how many people need ICU services, how many ICUs are still lacking. So if our budget is not going to solve these critical problems of the time, in terms of providing more ICUs, in terms of providing more vaccines, in terms of providing more specialized care for the treatment of COVID.
Siraj, let me just come in a little before you go back into explaining the whole bit of human capital and security and governance. When we talk about the ICUs and the beds availability and the whole response to COVID-19, I remember well when the president was speaking, if I'm not mistaken, it was the State of the Nation address. He gave us a breakdown of how we are ready to combat COVID. The aspect of the available beds, the standard, the HDU, the ICU beds, as well as the capacity to put up temporary structures in regional sections to avail extra space in case the situation got out of hand. Maybe perhaps that is already sorted and it's not a part of the budget. Or maybe it's within the budget itself for the health.
Whatever we are doing is just a drop in the ocean. If I don't know, then I've not gotten the figures on my fingertips of the number of beds that they are likely to add in the tents and what. But considering especially ICUs and the nature of the problem Ugandans are experiencing now, we still have a long way to invest in ICU if we want our Ugandans to still be healthy. And secondly, COVID has not taken away all other diseases. Whereas we are still struggling with COVID, malaria is still here, HIV is still here, cancer is still here. All these other both communicable and non-communicable diseases are still at large. And therefore, also shifting attention. And we find that all this budget is going to look at mainly COVID. It's still a problem because we are going to have more fatalities of malaria. We are going to have more of the same cancer and the rest. So that's why you find that it is very important to re-examine the health priorities and be able to support this sector, and perhaps even we can put a hold on other sectors that can wait, but because the president reinforce the health. Yes,
gentlemen, we have to pause at this for now. Probably let's try to see what's happening in Kololo. The president has arrived, and well, from the look of things, one of the anthems has already gotten done. Let's join in at this particular time. See you later. Keep it UBC.
Members, you may please take your seats. Communication from the chair.
Your Excellency the President, the Right Honourable Deputy Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition, the Chief Opposition Whip, Secretary General of the National Resistance Movement, Members of Parliament, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Ministers Designate, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to today's sitting. You will recall that last week on the 4th of June, this House was graced by the presence of the Excellency the President at the state opening of the first session of the 11th Parliament, and he delivered the State of the Nation address. I take this opportunity to thank him for playing his constitutional role. Today, we are here once again honored by His Excellency the President as he delivers the annual budget speech for financial year 2021-2022. Honorable members, the delivery of the budget speech is a constitutional obligation stipulated by Article 155(1) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, which states as follows: the President shall cause to be prepared and laid before Parliament in each financial year, but in any case not later than the 15th day before the commencement of the financial year, estimates, revenues and expenditures of government for the next financial year. The budget speech is a culmination of an elaborate consultative process involving various stakeholders. These consultative processes are vital for deliberations on changes afflicting budget preparations, on challenges afflicting budget preparations and implementation, service delivery, and agreeing on strategic program interventions and priorities for the given financial year. To appreciate the budget process, I draw your attention to 4 critical stages. I beg your pardon, I have notified that the Chief Justice is here. If the Chief Justice is here, he is recognized. To appreciate the budget process, I draw your attention to the 4 critical stages of the budget, actually termed the budget cycle. The budget has 4 cycles. Starts with the policy formulation, which essentially is the duty of the executive arm of government, where they ask the vital questions about what the problem is and what the possible solutions are. The second stage is budget approval or policy approval. That is a mandate of Parliament, looking at it with a different lens, capturing the interests of the people and how the policy or budget will affect the interests of the people. Once they are satisfied that the improvements they have made to the proposal now make it acceptable to the people, they will approve it. Once it's approved, it will move back to the executive for policy execution or policy implementation. They will implement that in accordance with frameworks that have been agreed between the executive and Parliament and finish it within the financial year. Once they have finished that execution of the budget, it comes back to Parliament monitoring, and the normal term used is oversight. And Parliament will be asking the question, we agreed on these frameworks, did you implement it in accordance with what we agreed? If not, the Auditor General will raise queries, which again come back to Parliament for us to deal with. The aforementioned 4 stages of the budget cycle, I urge members to acquaint themselves with various stages and processes to enhance their capacity in playing their appropriation role and oversight function. So it's simple. Policy formulation, executive. Policy approval, Parliament. Policy execution, the executive. Policy oversight, Parliament. That's how we are linked as institutions and arms of government, the legislature and the executive. Honourable members, you will be going through the different aspects and timelines now provided by the Public Finance Management Act as amended, and the details you get to know. The budget takes the whole year to execute. They start with the budget circular, budget call circular, then the government comes up with the budget framework paper, which is supposed to be in Parliament by the 31st of December of that year. We should receive the budget framework paper, which was discussed within the timelines agreed in the law. So, honourable members, these are processes we'll be going through to handle the budget. We'll be starting with a new budget for the next year, which has now been handled. Today we receive the formal statement of the budget, and we'll proceed from there. Let me also inform you that I received notification from each AHE, the President, that the Honourable Amos Lugolobi will be reading the budget speech today. Thank you very much.
Presentation of the budget speech.
I now invite Your Excellency to proceed with the presentation.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Your Excellency, the Vice President, the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, Your Lordship, the Chief Justice, the Right Honourable Deputy Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Ministers Designate, Honourable Members of Parliament, Your Excellencies, Heads of Diplomatic Missions and Development Partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen.
Honourable Amos, let me just correct an error which I take responsibility for. I greeted the First Lady when she arrived, but in my speech I forgot to recognize her. Mama First Lady, you're welcome. Proceed.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Before I proceed with this presentation, let me begin by appreciating His Excellency the President for availing me this opportunity to be the one presenting this budget on his behalf. Your Excellency, thank you so much for according me that opportunity, that rare opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I'm presenting the budget speech for the financial year 2021-2022, whose theme is industrialization for inclusive growth, employment, and wealth creation. Mr. Speaker, sir, in accordance with Article 155(1) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and the Public Finance Management Act 2015, and in exercise of the power delegated to me by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, I have the honor to present the budget speech for the financial year 2021-2022 budget. The Public Finance Management Act 2015 requires that the budget is approved by Parliament prior to the beginning of the financial year. This being a year when general elections were held, the budget for financial year 2021-2022 was approved by the 10th Parliament on 7th May 2021. My statement today is therefore a summary of the budget as approved by that Parliament. I thank all honourable members of that Parliament for the excellent cooperation in the preparation and approval of the budget. Mr. Speaker, sir, Ugandans have once again renewed the mandate of the NRM government. I heartily congratulate His Excellency the President upon his victory. I also extend congratulations to you, Mr. Speaker and Madam Deputy Speaker, for your election to the high office of Speaker and Deputy Speaker, and to you, my colleagues, the honourable members of Parliament, for your election to the 11th Parliament. Mr. Speaker, sir, over the last year, the coronavirus pandemic has severely impacted the health, economic and social status of Ugandans. Several aspects of life were adversely impacted, though evidence shows resilience, and we should congratulate ourselves as a country. According to a study by the Economic Policy Research Center, EPRC, and the International Growth Center, IGC, only 10% of micro, small and medium enterprises in Uganda remained open during the lockdown. And 93% of all micro and small medium enterprises were back in operation by October 2020. In addition, 90% of employees of private sector firms who were laid off during the lockdown were subsequently hired back after the lockdown. And only 6.5% suffered permanent layoffs. Mr. Speaker, the economic shocks that we have faced have, interestingly, also presented us with several opportunities. We have improved efficiency in public spending by using digital solutions, thus reducing the absolute need to travel abroad and inland, and physically attend meetings and workshops. Secondly, in response to the global supply chain disruptions due to the COVID-19 pandemic, several firms switched production lines to the manufacture of items that were previously imported, such as masks and sanitizers, which are critical in containing the spread of the virus. In addition, several locally sourced e-commerce applications have been developed to facilitate transactions during periods of restricted movements. These, among other innovative initiatives, are homegrown and can enhance self-sufficiency and advance our strategy for import substitution and export promotion. Mr. Speaker, sir, While Ugandans have withstood the consequences of the pandemic, its second wave is unfolding with little certainty as to its severity and impact. This is the most serious threat to our existence today. I appeal to every single one of us to protect themselves from the virus by strictly following standard operating procedures, SOPs. I also urge people of Uganda to urgently get vaccinated. Mr. Speaker, sir, the overarching goal of the NRM government over the new term of office is to drive faster and inclusive socio-economic transformation, building on the progress we have attained over the years. The key to rapid socio-economic transformation in Uganda rests on industrialization, mainly based on agriculture, boosting private sector business, and ensuring the well-being of Ugandans, together with the development of their skills for productive work. The budget for next financial year, 2021, is therefore premised on the theme, industrialization for inclusive growth, employment, and wealth creation. Mr. Speaker, in this budget statement, I will do the following. Number one, report on Uganda's economic and social progress over the last 5 years. Number two, present the economic growth strategy and priorities for financial year 2021-2022. For the financial year 2021-2022. Mr. Speaker, projected at 3.3%, rising the last 5 years. The size of the economy has grown from 148 49,000 to 600,000 tons. Milk production has also increased from 2.1 billion to 2.6 billion liters over the same period. External trade and tourism. Mr. Speaker, international trade continued to flourish despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Merchandise exports grew by 4.7%, increasing from $4.1 billion in 2019 to $4.3 billion in 2020. Agricultural export values grew by 19% from $1.4 billion in 2018-2019 to $1.8 billion United States dollars in 2019-2020. Happily, Uganda's merchandise trade deficit has significantly narrowed from United States dollars 2,866 million in 2018-19 to United States dollars 2,365 million in 2019-2020, a reduction of $500 million in just 1 year. Coffee remains the leading agricultural export, earning 497.4 million United States dollars in the financial year 2019-2020. Dairy exports fetched United States dollars 204.5 million, while tea exports earned $71 million in financial year 2019-2020. Fish exports earnings increased from $121 million to $227 million over the same period. Mr. Speaker, annual foreign exchange earnings from tourism increased from 1.35 million United States dollars in 2015 to 1.6 billion United States dollars in 2018. Annual tourist arrivals also increased from 1.3 million to 1.5 million during the same period. This is a result of the sustained investment in the development and rehabilitation of tourism infrastructure and product diversification. Unfortunately, the outbreak of COVID-19 has caused a huge setback to tourism, as we all know. Regarding investment, Mr. Speaker, foreign direct investment, FDI flows to Uganda amounted to 1.3 billion United States dollars in 2019, increasing by 20% from 1.1 billion United States dollars in 2018. And domestic investments also increased by 13% from $385.3 million to $433.8 million in the same period. Regarding incomes, poverty, and employment, Mr. Speaker, Uganda's per capita income is increasing steadily. In financial year 2015-2016, it was $808 and is projected to increase to $932 United States dollars in financial year 2020-21. We expect to achieve middle income of $1,039 United States dollars within the third year of NDP 3 implementation. The key reasons why we did not attain a middle income status by 2020 are, number one, lower than expected productivity, especially in agriculture. Two, inefficiencies in public investment, resulting in less than optimal returns. Number three, the shocks from natural disasters, especially in the last 2 years. Mr. Speaker, the recently concluded household survey reports that poverty has declined from 21.4% in 2016-2017 to 20.3% in 2019-2020. Poverty rates reduced in West Nile, Bunyoro, and Elgon regions, among others. However, 39% of Ugandan households are still in subsistence economy. Mr. Speaker, the household survey also found that 68% Ugandans work in agriculture, and 74% of Ugandans of working age are engaged in some form of employment. Formal employment has also expanded by 17% between 2016-17 and 2019-20, with the payee register expanding from 1.3 to 1.5 million registered taxpayers, according to the Uganda Revenue Authority. In order to empower youth and women to increase self-employment and incomes, 247,700 youth have been financed with shillings 165 billion to implement 21,000 projects under the Youth Livelihood Program. A further 166,300 women in 13,800 groups have received funding for projects. The externalization of labor has enabled 16,750 persons get employment in the Middle East over the last year and remit approximately $9 million per month. Economic infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, infrastructure is an important facilitator for economic growth and socio-economic development. Significant progress has been recorded as follows. On transport, Mr. Speaker, in transport infrastructure development, the total national paved road network has increased by 41% from 3,800 kilometers in 2016 to 5,400 kilometers today. 11 inland water vessels are operational with the commissioning of the Buwama and the Suguru ferry services. With respect to air transport, the upgrade of Entebbe International Airport is almost complete, with 96% of works at the cargo complex done. Kabale International Airport in Hoima now stands at 55.6% complete. To revive railway transport, rehabilitation of the Tororo-Gulu meter gauge railway has commenced, and 79% of the land for the construction of the standard gauge rail has been acquired. In addition, locomotives are being procured to further support Uganda Railways. Regarding power, Mr. Speaker, national electricity access today stands at 51%, of which 24% is on grid and 27% off grid. With the implementation of the free electricity connections policy, 152,500 households have been connected to the grid. Power generation capacity has increased by 38% from 925 megawatts in 2016 to 1,274 megawatts in 2020. The completion of the Karuma hydropower plant, which is 98% complete, and several mini hydropower plants, such as Aswa, Nyagak, and Muzizi, will further increase this capacity. Digitalization, Mr. Speaker. Internet access now stands at 52%, with 21 million people using the internet. Active mobile money subscriptions are 23 million, served by 235,800 mobile money agents. High-speed optical fiber cable covers 3,900 kilometers. In addition, new industries have been established in the assembly of computers, mobile phones, and accessories, and the development of knowledge-based ICT solutions. The ICT Innovation Fund, established in 2017, has funded the local development of 115 applications, many of which are in use in the government and the private sector. These include the Academic Information Management System and the e-government procurement solutions. Regarding human capital development, Mr. Speaker, The quality of life of Ugandans has improved over the last 5 years. Life expectancy has increased from the lowest level of 44 years in 1998 to 63 years currently. Literacy rates have improved to 76% of the population. In addition, the following progress has been recorded. Number one, 5.4 million home study books were distributed to private and public primary and secondary schools to support continuity of learning during COVID-19 pandemic. Number two, 270 teachers were trained in early grade reading methods for pre-primary schooling as part of the early childhood development curriculum rollout this year. And 14,350 teachers were trained to provide psychosocial support arising from COVID-19. Number three, construction of 117 seed secondary schools was completed, and 64 community secondary schools at sub-counties were grant-aided. Safe water coverage in rural and urban areas is estimated at 68% and 71% respectively. Consequently, 48,000 villages, representing 70% of all villages, have at least a source of water. In urban water supply, National Water and Sewage Corporation has extended 954 kilometers of water mains, and 49,000 new customers have been connected. In addition, 1,506 public stand posts have been installed, which serve an estimated 300,000 people. And five, access to health care, as measured by the proportion of people within a 5-kilometer radius of a health facility, now stands at 91%. Excuse me. In terms of functionality, 81% of health center FOs offer cesarean section, while 51% offer both cesarean section and blood transfusion. The state-of-the-art Entebbe Pediatric Surgery Hospital has been completed, and all national and regional referral hospitals have been equipped with intensive care unit beds and oxygen plants. Regarding COVID-19 emergency response, Right Honorable Speaker, despite the adverse impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, the economy remains resilient, partly as a result of a quick and strong government response. To minimize the negative impact of COVID-19 on social and economic welfare of the country, direct fiscal interventions totaling 2.6 trillion were implemented. In addition, 7.3 trillion private loans in commercial banks were restructured as part of the stimulus package. The economic stimulus supported household economic welfare, 2, farms to survive the crisis, and 3, maintenance of financial stability to avoid the potential collapse of the economy. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the COVID-19 pandemic, vulnerable groups in the Kampala metropolitan area were provided relief food, and masks were distributed countrywide. 60 billion shillings was spent to fund food distribution to 683,000 households, covering 1.9 million persons. The mitigation of the adverse impact of COVID-19 pandemic on health and education was a key element of government response. 964,000 doses of COVID vaccines were procured, and mass vaccination has begun following the priority accorded to most vulnerable categories of the population. Today, 733,923 persons have received their first dose of the vaccine, and 40,895 have completed both doses. Clinical trials of a local research treatment is also underway to ensure continuity of education. During the COVID-19 pandemic, distance learning has been used based on electronic platforms, including television and online classes. Digital platforms are also in use for inspection and supervision of schools. To support recovery of business, private sector loans totaling 7.3 trillion shillings, representing 43% of all loans, had repayments postponed, a quarter of which were loans in tourism, trade, and commerce. Tax relief totaling 2 provided to businesses disrupted by COVID-19. In addition, government paid 677 billion shillings in arrears to private sector firms it owed in order to ease their liquidity situation. The Uganda Development Bank was allocated 555 billion shillings to finance manufacturing, agribusiness, and other private sector firms affected by COVID-19 pandemic. Seed capital amounting to 416 billion shillings was provided to the youth, women entrepreneurs, and the Myoga program. A total of 6,394 Myoga circles in 349 constituencies have received 200 billion shillings. Regarding governance, Right Honourable Speaker, with respect to law and order, crime reduced by 8.9% from 215,000 cases in 2019 to 196,000 cases in 2020. Interventions such as the Safe City Camera Project, enhanced motorized and foot patrols, and community policing have contributed to this decline. In the judiciary, the proportion of cases that are over 2 years old have reduced from 24% in 2017 to 17.5% in 2021 as a result of the implementation of the case backlog reduction strategy and the use of alternative dispute resolution alongside conventional court proceedings. Excuse me. Mr. Speaker, to sum up, great strides have been achieved on both economic and social fronts, as I have demonstrated. This progress is a result of the sustained effort by government to remove barriers to production and human capital development, as well as peace and security, which have provided a solid basis for the economy to grow, despite the setbacks we all know. The socio-economic transformation in Uganda is unstoppable. I now turn to the economic growth strategy and the attendant priorities. Mr. Speaker, the economic growth strategy for the medium term aims to achieve faster and inclusive growth and enhance socio-economic development. The target is to raise the growth rates from 4.3% estimated for financial year 2021 to at least 7% in the medium term. The strategy will achieve these medium-term objectives in three folds. One, restoring the economy back to the medium-term growth path. Two, improving the well-being of the population to ensure a healthy and skilled workforce. And three, providing peace, security, and good governance. In restoring economic growth, Mr. Speaker, restoring the economy to medium-term growth path requires the following. Number one, boosting business of the private sector, especially micro, small, and medium enterprises, by extending COVID-19 relief measures, increasing regional and continental market access, access to long-term affordable capital, and supporting entrepreneurial development. Number two, aggressively promoting agro-industrialization to unlock the potential of primary production, together with standards development and enforcement, including enhanced market access. Number three, commercializing minerals, oil and gas endowments to obtain the greatest benefits from adding value to Uganda's natural endowments. And four, develop and maintain infrastructure for economic growth and development, and promote regionally balanced growth. Regarding boosting of business activity, Mr. Speaker, the immediate requirement is to support the recovery of businesses that continue to be adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. In financing the private sector growth, credit relief enables business to improve their liquidity and cash flow. The restructuring of private sector bank loans has been further extended from 1st April 2021 for a further 6 months, allowing restructuring of loans for up to 3 times. This restructuring can be applied by any borrower at any time before 30th September 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, access to affordable medium-term to long-term capital is key to boosting business. Uganda Development Bank will be further capitalized with an additional 103 billion shillings in financial year 2021-2022. In addition to the 555 billion shillings dispersed this financial year 2020-2021 for lending to small and medium enterprises affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, among others. The Agricultural Credit Facility at the Bank of Uganda, the Myoga program through the Microfinance Support Center, and the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship and Youth Funds will continue to provide targeted funding for agriculture, women, and youth group projects, respectively. Mr. Speaker, applied research in science, technology, and innovation are key to industrialization and socioeconomic transformation. Significant gains in productivity and competitiveness can be achieved with product development. To further support advancement in scientific research and innovation, the construction of the National Automotive Park will commence next year. Feasibility studies for regional science and technology parks and technology and business incubators will also be carried out. Technology development for the manufacture of personal protective equipment known as PPEs, diagnostics and biomedical science, immunology, vaccines, and digital applications will be further supported. Right Honourable Speaker, 358.5 billion shillings has been allocated in next year's budget for innovation and technological development. Excuse me. Regarding investment promotion, Mr. Speaker, in order to promote investment, foreign and domestic direct investment will be facilitated. This will increase value addition as well as enable technology and knowledge transfer. 350,000 direct jobs and 650,000 indirect jobs are expected to be generated. To this end, 23 regional industrial business parks to be spread across the country will be established, among others. 2, promoting agro-industrialization. Mr. Speaker, agriculture remains the mainstay of livelihoods for the vast majority of Ugandans in rural areas who engage in primary production and related non-farm activity. The key to rapid socio-economic transformation rests on unlocking the potential of agriculture through aggressive industrialization. This will enable the population engaged in farm and non-farm rural economic activity to earn higher incomes and employment. The agro-industrialization strategy will address low production and productivity of primary agriculture, poor harvest, handling and storage, limited value addition, and insufficient market access. It will also permit adherence to food safety requirements and standards in export markets. This will also partially address the reason provided to create non-tariff barriers, NTBs, in regional markets which constrain agribusiness. The Parish development model approach, Mr. Speaker, this model is an approach to organizing and delivering public and private sector interventions for wealth creation, including investment planning, budgeting, and service delivery at the parish level as the lowest planning unit, This approach seeks to create income-generating opportunities at the 10,594 parishes in the country. The parish development approach has 7 pillars, namely 1, production, processing, value addition, and marketing. 2, infrastructure and other economic services, including extension services, energy, roads, market structures, water for production, and mindset change for business orientation. 3, financial inclusion through cooperatives, circles, revolving funds, where 30 million Uganda shillings will be provided per parish for a start. 4, social services delivery, including health, education, water, and other social development services. 5, re-establishment of the community information system. 6, parish governance and administration. And 7, mindset change. Mr. Speaker, agro-industrialization will be achieved through the following strategic actions. Number 1, develop commodity value chains linking national, regional, district, and sub-county level commodity off-takers to private nucleus farmers. This will enable the production of the 14 key commodities under the parish development model, including maize, cassava, banana, beans, Irish potato, sweet potato, millet, sugarcane, cattle, dairy, coffee, tea, cocoa, and fish. Number 2, multiply fish, poultry, and crop technologies developed by National Agricultural Research Organization, NARO, and improved breeding stock by National Animal Resources Center and Data Bank, NAGRIC, to be replicated across the country using the parish development model. Number 3, build parish and sub-county centers and district and regional warehouse storage capacity with adequate equipment to address post-harvest losses and ensure standards are maintained. In this regard, the parish development model will go a long way to organize local production linked to processing centers and markets. Number 4, provide affordable long-term agricultural financing and insurance to de-risk entrepreneurs at all levels of the commodity value chain. Number 5, expedite the licensing of digitized commodity markets linked to the 750,000 metric ton capacity of warehouse infrastructure countrywide, where volumes of quality, aflatoxin-free, graded grain will be guaranteed and traded. Number 6, develop market infrastructure to enable the private sector to take advantage of the export market opportunities, including the African Continental Free Trade Area. Number 7, develop agro-industries such as the Luero Fruit Factory and the master plan for the Zombo Fruit Factory, etc. Number 8, complete construction of storage facilities of 42,000 metric tons capacity in Iganga, Isingiro, Amuru, Kalungu, and Nebi. Number 9, operationalize 20 zonal industrial hubs for skilling youth and women, wealth creation and value addition for carpentry, welding, tailoring, knitting, weaving, bakery, shoemaking, and stone cutting trades, and value addition facilities for commodities such as coffee and maize. Number 10, construct 2 storage facilities in Bujangabu and Katakwi, 6 milk collecting centers in Chenjojo, Gomba, Nakaseke, Kumi, and Chibuku, 12 food processing plants, and 18 value addition facilities across the country. Number 11, operationalize a 1,000 metric ton grain processing plant and a 150 kilogram per hour peanut butter plant in Soroti, a 3,000 metric ton maize processing plant in Busia, and a 500 metric ton multi-grain processing plant and feed mill in Arua. 12, establish the Kabarore Agro-Industrial Park, 2 regional value addition incubation centers in Kasese and Gulu, and 2 regional farm service centers in Gulu and Kabarore. Mr. Speaker, Uganda's agricultural exports are required to meet international phytosanitary standards. These standards ensure that agricultural commodities for export are free of pests and diseases. 8 major border posts will be constructed and equipped to carry out inspection, testing, fumigation, and packaging services for exports. They will be located at Mutukula, Katuna, Pondwe, Maraba, Busia, Swam, Ilegu, and Ruakaka, and at the Entebbe and Kabale international airports. This will address quality standards for commodity exports such as maize and poultry and dairy products. 7 billion shillings has been provided for this purpose. Mr. Speaker, sir, in total, 1.67 trillion shillings has been allocated to support agro-industrialization initiatives next financial year. Now, regarding commercializing minerals, oil and gas endowment, Mr. Speaker, exploitation of Uganda's minerals, oil and gas endowments is a major source of growth in the medium term. Mineral beneficiation adds economic value to naturally endowed minerals. The commercialization of our oil and gas endowments will generate investments of between $15 to $20 billion over the next 5 years. The requirement to have these investments with substantial local content will enable the creation of jobs and allow local companies to benefit from supplying goods and services to the petroleum sector. Recently, Government of Uganda and Tanzania signed agreements that will facilitate the undertaking of the final investment decision by the oil companies. These agreements will accelerate the production of the first oil. Investment requirements in this sector will now present an opportunity for foreign direct investment inflows, creation of both direct and indirect jobs, facilitate local enterprise growth, including forward and backward linkages to agriculture, tourism, and the petrochemical industries. I thank the President for his foresighted leadership in guiding and spearheading the development of this sector. Mr. Speaker, the priority interventions in the mining industry next financial year are as follows. Number 1, establish the mineral reserves that are economically feasible for extraction in 80% of the country, and complete the airborne geophysical surveys of the remaining 20% in the Karamoja sub-region. Number 2, finalize the mining law and enhance public-private partnership arrangements to develop minerals, starting with the iron ore in Western Uganda, restoration of the Katwe salt factory, and provision of an attractive taxation regime that protects and supports local steel production. 3, explore all geothermal resources to quantify the geothermal potential of the country and promote the development of Kibiro, Katwe, Bulanga, and Panyimu geothermal prospects. Mr. Speaker, 49 billion shillings have been allocated in the budget for financial year 2021-2022 to support the mineral development interventions. Mr. Speaker, in the oil and gas industry, critical actions that have now paved the way for investment and commercialization include the signature of agreements between Uganda, Tanzania, and the international oil companies for the East African crude oil pipeline. The enabling legislation for this pipeline will soon be brought to Parliament for consideration. Mr. Speaker, the signature of these key agreements signals the commencement of the development and production phase of petroleum. Construction of Tilenga and Kingfisher facilities, as well as the East Africa crude oil pipeline, will commence this year, and the first oil is expected in early 2025. This development will create significant benefit to our economy and to all Ugandans, especially those who will participate in provision of services and goods to the industry. In addition, the following interventions will be undertaken. Number one, the second licensing round of exploration areas will commence in order to enable discovery for additional petroleum reserves. Number two, the construction of oil roads will continue. Number three, the national content policy that provides priority to Ugandans to supply the oil and gas industry and provide employment will be implemented. And number four, constructive facilities for production and transportation of the crude oil and the development of the required regulations, including those related to tariff, metering, and decommissioning. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to the infrastructure for economic growth and development. Uganda has invested heavily in addressing key infrastructure gaps, but there are still gaps that will be addressed in the medium term to enhance growth and socioeconomic transformation, for which the following interventions will be implemented. Transport infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, to further improve transport infrastructure, the following interventions will be prioritized next financial year. Number one, the upgrade of 400 kilometers equivalent of national roads from gravel to tarmac, including the construction of 37 new bridges on national roads. Number two, rehabilitation of 200 kilometer equivalent of national roads and 400 kilometers of community access roads and the maintenance of national and district urban and community access roads network. Three, rehabilitation, procurement of ferries and construction of selected landing sites, including the Lalopi, Obongi, and Choga ferries, and the Bukungu, Kagwara, Kabera Maido landing sites. Continue support for the revival of the national airline and maintenance of upcountry aerodromes. Five, acquire right-of-way for the standard gauge railway, rehabilitate Tororo Gulu meter gauge railway, and of Kampala Maraba meter gauge rail line, and complete the Gulu logistics hub. Mr. Speaker, 5.1 trillion shillings has been allocated in the budget for the development of the integrated transport infrastructure and related services. Out of this, 487.4 billion shillings is for road maintenance, and 135.9 billion shillings is for community roads improvement. Regarding power infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, regarding the promotion of renewable energy, the government will commission solar mini grid plants in Rubirizi and Kasese districts. These include the Kasenyi 37 kilowatts, Kashaka 28 kilowatts, Kazinga 26 kilowatts, Kihuramu 18 kilowatts, Kisebere 16 kilowatts, and Kisenyi 32 kilowatts. These solar mini grids were constructed by a worldwide fund for Nature Uganda. The mini grids will provide power to isolated community clusters. Mr. Speaker, building capacity to meet the energy needs of Uganda's population in an environmentally sustainable manner is a major national priority. And the key interventions will include, number one, further development of generation, transmission, and distribution capacity. Two, increasing electricity access, including implementing the free electricity connection policy. Three, reducing energy losses and curbing vandalism of electricity infrastructure. Four, provide affordable electricity tariffs, including the power subsidy of 5 cents for manufacturers who qualify as extra large industrial consumers. Five, promote renewable energy, energy efficiency, and conservation. Mr. Speaker, 1.1 trillion shillings has been allocated in the budget for financial year 2021-2022 for the development of energy infrastructure and services. And out of this, 646.2 billion shillings is earmarked for rural electrification. Regarding digital transformation, Mr. Speaker, ICT is key to transforming socioeconomic transformation. and for improving efficiency and productivity. The COVID-19 pandemic has presented the opportunity for digital transformation of the economy. Therefore, the major priorities for financial year 2021-2022 will include the extension of broadband ICT infrastructure up to the sub-county level, expanding the digital terrestrial television and radio broadcasting network to facilitate tele-education for learners, and facilitating the development of software solutions to support e-government, e-commerce, and e-payment, among others. Mr. Speaker, 134.9 billion shillings has been allocated in the budget for financial year 2021-22 to enhance digitization of the economy. Now, regarding pursuing regional balanced growth, Mr. Speaker, greater linkage between production and processing facilities at a local level can be established through a regionally balanced growth approach. Regional balanced growth entails the development of value chain enterprises beyond the central corridor of Maraba to Greater Kampala metropolitan area, to Mbarara. Developing additional corridors of growth will diversify economic development. In this respect, Right Honourable Speaker, 2 additional corridors have been identified, namely the north to east corridor, that is Maraba, Soroti, Gulu, Arua, and the north to west corridor, Kasese, Hoima, Gulu, and Kitigum. These corridors altogether form a growth triangle across Uganda where production, value addition, and agro-industrialization can holistically take place. Industrial and business parks will link production areas to national, regional, and international markets. This approach is consistent with the local economic development model that has been developed for the Rwenzori region. Mr. Speaker, sir, the growth triangle approach leverages urbanization as a force for socioeconomic transformation. Recently established cities, namely Arua, Mbarara, Gulu, Jinja, Fort Portal, Mbale, Masaka, Lira, Soroti, and Hoima, are located in the corridors of the growth triangle. These cities will be centers for industrial and business parks, trade, and serve as centers of excellence in healthcare, education, and hospitality. This will make urban areas more productive and also develop a revenue base for the cities. Strengthening physical planning and addressing urban crime, pollution, and traffic congestion are key aspects in developing the growth triangle. Mr. Speaker, regarding improving well-being of Ugandans, improving the quality of life of Ugandans is central to our growth strategy. A healthy population and skilled workforce is a fundamental requirement for socioeconomic transformation. Key interventions in education, health, water, and sanitation are necessary to ensure effective human capital development. Regarding health, Mr. Speaker, the immediate health need we are faced with is ensuring containment of the COVID-19 pandemic. Widespread vaccination and the enforcement of standard operating procedures are the only preventive measures that guarantee protection against COVID-19. The initial target is to vaccinate at least 6 million most vulnerable persons, comprised of teachers, health workers, the elderly, and persons with chronic ailments. Shillings 560 billion has been provided for the procurement of vaccines. To enhance the commendable job by the health sector in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, interventions to improve health workers' skills and work environment will be prioritized. In addition, health infrastructure will be maintained and systems strengthened to ensure increased efficiency and effectiveness in healthcare delivery. The use of digital technology will play a key part in not only delivering health skills training, but also in improving systems for greater efficiency. Mr. Speaker, Other priorities of the health sector next year include the following. Number one, upgrade 43 health facilities and construct new health center 3s in 60 sub-counties. To ensure functionality, the recruitment of additional staff for each of the upgraded health facilities has been arranged. Number two, construction and equipping of the Uganda Heart Institute at Mulago will be completed, and the regional oncology and diagnostic center in Gulu by the Uganda Cancer Institute will be established. Number three, ensure adequate supply and delivery of essential medicines and health supplies. The National Medical Stores budget has been increased from 420.3 billion shillings this fiscal year to 600.3 billion shillings next financial year. Regarding education, Mr. Speaker, transforming education delivery is of paramount importance in improving learning outcomes, especially with the recent experience with the COVID-19 pandemic. Adopting e-learning methods and digitizing inspection and supervision to address absenteeism of learners and teachers will improve learning outcomes. We shall also build on the gains of the universalization of education and skilling programs by upgrading more of the country's education training facilities into effective institutions of learning and skill development. Excuse me. Mr. Speaker, regarding education, transforming education delivery, I think I've finished that one. Mr. Speaker, next financial year, priority will be placed on improving staffing and teacher quality at all levels, enhancing inspection and supervision of schools, rehabilitate primary and traditional secondary schools, and complete construction of selected vocational schools. To this end, 4,200 primary school teachers will be recruited to raise the national staffing level to 70%. In addition, 1,055 secondary teachers will be recruited in local governments with staffing level below 50% of the establishment. To improve supervision, 440 inspectors will be recruited across all local governments to address learner, teacher, and school management absenteeism. The integrated inspection system, electronic inspection in brackets, will be rolled out throughout the country. The rehabilitation of 74 primary and 13 traditional secondary schools, for example, Nabisunsa Girls School, will also be undertaken. Construction of 36 partially completed schools, for example, Morunga Twinyi Secondary School, will be completed. Construction of 7 skills development institutions, like the Arua School of Nursing, will also be completed. Regarding water and sanitation facilities, Mr. Speaker, access to safe water and sanitation is important in improving the well-being of the population. The target is to increase the coverage of safe water supply in rural areas to 81% and 100% in urban areas by 2025. At a minimum, we will ensure that every village in underserved districts has at least one safe water source, as well as promote improved sanitation. To this end, 124.9 billion shillings has been provided for water and 523.4 billion shillings for urban water. Mr. Speaker, in summary, to enhance human capital development, 7.7 trillion shillings has been allocated next financial year. Regarding peace, security, and good governance, Mr. Speaker, peace and security, the rule of law, and good governance are key to providing a conducive environment to facilitate socioeconomic development. Our long-term objective is to maintain peace and security at the community and national level, increase access to justice, and enhance effectiveness in public service delivery. Regarding peace and security, Mr. Speaker, next fiscal year, the following intervention will be prioritized to create a peaceful and secure environment for economic growth and development. Number one, acquire, refurbish, and maintain military equipment. Number two, complete the construction of the military referral hospital in Imbuya and train military medical personnel and procure medical equipment. Number three, commence construction of 30,000 housing units for the military, the construction of the military museum, as well as military barracks. Number four, improve urban security with implementation of phase 3 of the Safe City CCTV project. Mr. Speaker, 6.9 trillion shillings has been provided in the budget for these interventions. Access to justice. Mr. Speaker, to improve access to justice, the judiciary and other law and order services will be deconcentrated to the regional and district level. In this regard, 9.4 billion shillings has been provided to kickstart the construction of the courts of appeal in Gulu and in Mbarara, high court circuits in Ruero and Soroti, magistrates courts in Budaka, Albertong, and Yantonde, grade 1 magistrate courts in Abim, Patong, Karengo, and Chazanga. Mr. Speaker, the budget of the judiciary was substantially enhanced from 199.1 billion shillings to 376.9 billion shillings. Out of this, shillings 146.6 billion has been provided for the recruitment and facilitation of judicial staff. In addition, 18.2 billion has been provided to implement the electronic court case management information system and the prosecution case management information system. Regarding improving budget efficiency, Mr. Speaker, efficiency in public spending not only ensures public funds are well spent, but also enables other priority needs to be funded. Next financial year, expenditure is projected to decline by 3.4% of GDP to 21.1% from 24.4% this financial year. It is projected to average 19.3% over the medium term. The following interventions will improve efficiency in public spending. Number one, rationalization of government institutions to eliminate mandate overlaps and duplication. Number two, improved asset management, including maintenance of public infrastructure and improving government fleet and equipment management using leasing options. Number three, strengthen the procurement by sanctioning officials and other persons who unduly influence procurement processes. Four, elimination of the accumulation of domestic arrears by clearing existing stock of arrears and curtailing further accumulation. Sanctions will be applied to accounting officers in accordance with the Public Finance Management Act 2015 if there is further arrears accumulation. Number five, enhanced budget monitoring and evaluation by strengthening executive oversight for improving efficiency in public policy, programs, and project implementation. Number six, digitization of public financial management systems through automation and integration of ICT systems to ensure timely release and disbursement of funds. Use of national identification numbers upgraded with enhanced biometric features will improve efficiency in government transfers to beneficiaries using mobile money. This will be used in transfers under the social assistance grant for the elderly and the Myoga seed capital. Number seven, further scale down on spending on consumptive items such as travel abroad, just like we have done during the COVID-19 pandemic. Savings of 800 billion shillings have been identified. Mr. Speaker, the new programmatic approach for budgeting under NDP 3 will enable removal of the silo mentality in the government departments and align the budget to the results we want. I now turn to the financial year 2021-2022 financing framework. Mr. Speaker, the fiscal strategy for financial year 2021-2022 and the medium term aim to create resources to finance priority interventions while maintaining fiscal and debt sustainability. It is premised on mobilizing a high level of domestic revenue and enhancing returns from public investment. The government will also undertake a review of public expenditure to improve efficiency. On domestic revenues, Mr. Speaker, domestic revenue for next financial year is projected at 22,425 billion, equivalent to 13.8% of GDP, compared to a projected outturn of 19,432 billion shillings, equivalent to 13.1% of GDP in the financial year 2020-21. This targeted revenue is an increase of 0.7 percentage points of GDP. The increase in tax collections will be realized from an improvement in the level of economic activity, increased efficiency in tax collection by URA through strengthening compliance and enforcement, as well as new tax measures and administrative reforms. Tax policy interventions. Accordingly, I will highlight some tax policy interventions which will be implemented in financial year 2021-2022. Number one, reform taxation of rental income to remove the incentive for non-individual rental taxpayers to claim unrestricted deductions which significantly reduce their tax contribution. Number two, reduce rates of depreciation for some classes of assets. Number three, discontinue the concurrent deduction of initial allowances and depreciation in the first year of use of qualifying assets. Four, review the capital gains tax regime by allowing for the effect of inflation and providing tax relief for venture capital investments. Number five, broaden the scope of taxation of plastics to cover all the plastics. Number six, rationalize the excise duty regime on telecommunication services by scrapping the excise duty on over-the-top, known as OTT, and introduce a harmonized excise duty rate of 12% on airtime, value-added services, and internet data, excluding data for provision of medical services and the provision of education services. Number seven, introduce an export levy of 7% on the value of fish maw exports. Number eight, impose an export levy of 5% and 10% on processed and unprocessed gold and other minerals, respectively. Regarding the tax administration measures, Mr. Speaker, Uganda Revenue Authority will implement administrative interventions to boost revenue collection, including the following. Number one, strengthen tax arrears management and recovery. Number two, enhance data analysis through interfaces with other government information systems to enhance taxpayer compliance. Number three, enforce tax compliance using the electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution and digital tax stamps. Number four, enforce and enhance licensing requirements for clearing and tax agents and bond operators. Number five, improve detection of smugglers using non-intrusive inspection equipment. And number six, close all bonded warehouses for imported sugar for re-export to avoid undeclaration and misclassification. These administrative measures will generate about 800 billion shillings in revenue collections. Mr. Speaker, the capacity of local governments to collect revenue will be enhanced through training and ICT infrastructure. Public debt sustainability. Mr. Speaker, Uganda's debt amounted to $17.96 billion as at 31st December 2020, equivalent to 49.8% of GDP. Borrowed funds have been used to finance mainly infrastructure projects such as the Karuma and Isimba hydropower plants, oil roads, development of airports, industrial parks, transmission lines, water and irrigation projects. Uganda public debt remains sustainable in the short, medium and long term. I reaffirm government's unwavering commitment that Uganda shall continue to honor its debt obligations as they fall due. Uganda will not default on repayment of its debt. All contractual debt obligations will be fully honored. Mr. Speaker, the government will undertake the following key strategies, among others, to keep our debt within sustainable levels. Number one, ensure that projects are well appraised to allow only those that are viable and aligned to the National Development Plan. Two, prioritize borrowing for only projects that enhance socioeconomic transformation and enhance project implementation. Three, prioritize borrowing from concessional sources. And four, increase the maturity profile of our domestic debt. The resource envelope for financial year 2021-2022. Mr. Speaker, the resource envelope for financial year 2021-2022 amounts to 44,778.8 billion shillings and is comprised of both domestic and external resources as detailed below. Number one, domestic revenue amounts to shillings 22,425 billion, of which 20,837 billion will be tax revenue, and shillings 1,588 billion will be non-tax revenue. Number two, domestic borrowing amounting to shillings 2,943 billion. Number three, the petroleum resource amounts to 200 billion shillings. Number four, budget support accounts to 3,583 billion. Number five, external financing for projects amounts to 6,868 billion, of which billion is from loans, and shillings 1,349.4 billion is from grants. Number six, appropriation in aid collected by local governments amounts to 212.4 billion shillings. And number seven, domestic debt refinancing would amount to 8,547 billion. Mr. Speaker, sir, total expenditure will be 44,778.8 billion shillings, excluding domestic debt refinancing and appropriations in aid, AIA. It amounts to shillings 36,019.4 billion, of which wages and salaries is 5,528.6 billion shillings. Current expenditure is 15,625.4 billion, and government expenditure is 14,865.3 billion shillings. Conclusion, Right Honourable Speaker, Your Excellency, and honourable members. The economic growth strategy and budget priorities that are presented today seek to speed up economic recovery and drive more inclusive growth by creating an environment for increased socioeconomic empowerment of the ordinary Ugandans. Specific focus in the coming budget has been placed on implementing the Parish development model, which provides a unique opportunity for transforming the subsistence households through productivity enhancement, jobs, and the empowerment of youth and women. Investments in oil and gas will provide opportunities for both direct and indirect jobs, including local enterprises development. Market infrastructure development will guarantee export markets for our products. Addressing constraints in infrastructure and agriculture, as well as improving service delivery, will improve our competitiveness and accord Ugandans a better quality of life. I therefore commend this budget to the people of Uganda as we continue implementing actions to transform our economy from subsistence to a modern one for God and my country.
Remarks by His Excellency the President.
Your Excellency, it's your time to address the House.
Excellency President Designate, the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, His Lordship the His Lordship the Chief Justice, the Right Honourable Deputy Speaker, Right Honourable Deputy Chief Justice, Right Honourable Prime Minister Designate, and all the big and small people. I want to thank the Honorable Rugorovi Amos. You heard how he very well presented the budget. My job is, you had the budget, so the comments I make are just to clarify a few points. The first point is an ideology and a strategic one, which I always try to clarify whenever I get opportunity. The issues I've seen in Uganda here for the last 70 years have been mainly, which some people don't grasp very well, and that's why we waste quite a bit of time. It seems there is a struggle between the producers of wealth and the parasites. Fortunately, by a good historical accident, I belonged to the producers of wealth. In Tungamo, where I was born and partially grew up in the 1940s and 1950s, you had the following wealth creators. People are creating wealth, not eating what they don't produce. You had cattle keepers, in which activity I was involved. Myself, directly, there is no work involving cattle which I didn't do myself with my own hands. Then we had crop farmers for food, bananas, sweet potatoes, millet. Millet was very much used at that time in those areas. These were wealth creators. We had a few people who were catching a shonzi. A shonzi are mud fish. I think they call them mud fish. We had some families who were doing that. We didn't have proper fishermen because we were a bit far from the water, but we had these people who were catching fish. Then we had artisans, blacksmith, Abahesi, a man called Manyoro. We had carpenters who are making wooden buckets, making milk pots, making all sorts of wooden products. And then in Ntungamo, we didn't have any cash crop growers in the 1940s, 50s, no. We were all Awakorera Chida, Chonka, working only for the stomach. But in some of the neighboring sub-counties like Ndeja and also in Igara, Chamhunga, Cheizova, a few areas of Shema, they had started some cash crops. We were hearing cash crops like coffee, and in Chamhunga, tea was started in the 1950s. So we were wealth creators, all of us, many of us. Then we had a few service people who are doing servicing. We had a few Indians, I think there were like 4, plus 2 Arabs. The Indians were Abdallah, Mahmoud Ali. The Arabs were, one was called Bumbakare, which is the Kinyankoranization of Abu Bakr. They were calling him Bumbakare. Then we had a Nubian in Kakuru, Kamisi, whom the Banyankore called Charakitanava, because he was so black that the nails were black. They thought he didn't wash. So they were calling him the one without washed nails, Charakitanava. But he was providing a service of transport. When we visited the National Park as a class in 1958, I think it was his Opero vehicle which took us. So, the majority of us were wealth creators in agriculture, artisanship, or services. And in this, we were assisted by partners. People used to come from Kampala here, a man called Warusimbi Mpanga. He would come and buy our cows and bring them to Kampala for slaughter. So that one was our partner. We had another man called Buchenya, In Mbarara, he was a Muslim, a fat Muslim man. His real name is, these are Baganda of Ankole. His real name was Bukenya. But because Banyankole cannot easily pronounce Bukenya, they say Bukenya. So that one was also buying cows, bringing them to Mbarara. And then there was a European called Share, who was buying cows and taking them to Chirembe for. So these were our partners. And we were selling, I used to sell milk sometimes to the Indians and also to some other groups like Sambanyarwanda who had migrated there. A Mnyarwanda called Kanyandeku. I used to take milk there and sell it to him because he wanted it. So therefore, because we were wealth creators and we had our partners, we had no problem of sectarianism. You couldn't hear people talking of Indians, that Indians are the problem. No, because the Indians were the ones bringing us what we did not have. Those Indians, Budara and so on. And all these groups, the Baganda, you hear, Warusimbi, and the others are the ones who are buying our cows. At that time, the Banyankole were not so much in trade. Then you had the Banyarwanda buying some of our products. So ideologically, because we are people involved in wealth creation, we have no time for sectarianism. Because we need one another. If I am anti-Baganda, who will buy my cows? If I am anti-Indians, who will bring what I don't have? Who will bring the salt? Who will bring the textiles? Who will bring the paraffin? That time we were still using tadobas. So therefore, this ideology of sectarianism was part of the pseudo-ideology pushed by parasites. This is why I want us really to focus on this difference between producers of wealth versus parasites. The producers of wealth are wealth creators and also job creators. You can imagine that even at that very low level of economic activity, we were creating jobs. We would sell our cows to Barusi in Bimpanga, but there were no lorries at that time to carry cows. So Barusi in Bimpanga would have to employ people to drive the cows, to walk the cows. They call it Okufunya. These people would walk the cows all the way from Ntungamo to Kampala. These were jobs. You can imagine, even in our very, very low level, we were already creating jobs. I look after cows. We sell them to Warusi Mpanga. Warusi Mpanga employs people to walk the cows all the way to Kampala. So, how do the parasites, how do the opportunists come in, the sectarian people, to bring tribes, religion? How do they come in? It was because I think you cannot easily bring sectarianism where I am. Because I will tell you to go to hell, because I am a producer of wealth. I owe nothing to nobody. In fact, I think if we are not busy with the school system, I don't think this sectarian politics would have taken root in a place like Ankole. And that's why when the NRM came, sectarianism in politics disappeared. Because what are you saying? I owe nothing to you. I am here looking after my cows. I'm here growing my crops. I am here an artisan. What are you telling me? To be against the other one, He's the one who is buying my products. You are a shaitani. Go away. So that's how the NRM came and really scorched this nonsense. Now, when the NRM won, two groups tried to fight the NRM. The parasites, and I think some of the confused people who didn't know enough about us. Like they would go to the north and tell people in Acholi, these people are coming to kill you and so on. So they create fear. But with time, as you have seen, the people in the north were able to know who the NRM are. Then those groups who are fighting NRM tried to organize a rebellion. We defeated the rebellion by three things: mobilizing the people, using combined arms, and improving technology. So when the rebellion was defeated, what you have now is isolated crime. Like you have seen here in Kampala, the people have been killed. The Muslim sheikhs were killed that time. Joan Kagezi, Kawesi, Kirumira. Now recently the attempt on Katumba and the killing of the daughter and the driver. This is definitely by parasites. Because we are busy producing wealth. People are busy. Farmers are busy. Fishermen are busy. The people with small factories are busy. So who are you? Instead of working, you go to attack people. Who are you? You want to cause fear. You want to stop the Ugandans. If it was not for Corona, in fact now I'm a bit lonely now, because otherwise they dance the whole night and noise and so on, and the girls were. That's what Ugandans like. They like nice life. Now these days I just sleep, there is no noise because of Corona. When Corona goes, I want my people to go back to freedom, to pleasure making. That's what I want them to do. So therefore, I am here to tell the parasites that we shall crush them. Because we crushed the rebellion. You remember the rebellion was carrying us. Now this one is like a jigger. In the primary school, I had a few times I had a problem of jigger entered my feet. Now when the jigger enters your foot, the whole foot is itching. The whole foot. Now, if you are not clever, you say, let me cut off the whole foot because the jigger has entered me, then you will make a mistake. What you do, you go carefully. You see where the jigger is. I was an expert in handling that one. You go carefully. You see where the Banyankole say the eye of the. First of all, you see where the jigger is. But even when you know where it is, you don't go just anyhow. You go for the eye. They call it the eye of the jigger. There is where it is. I think it is breathing. It is breathing through that space. This is the one you start with. You start with the eye. You don't go to. So this is how we are handling this problem of the criminals. That's why we don't put roadblocks. You see, you can be provoked. You put roadblocks. You put what? People don't move. No. I will not put roadblocks. No, because roadblocks stop the one who is guilty and the one who is not guilty. Narumanya, Nesarumanya. No, we shall never use. We must look for the eye of the jigger. And in order to do, step number one are the human sources. The human sources. People will tell you, the one who saw, the one who heard. But as the Honorable Gorobi was saying, in the budget, we are put for technical means, which we have already started deploying. The cameras. You have seen how those cameras have helped us to see what was happening. And once the police wakes up and uses them more effectively, you will see how they will help us to control crime. But also, in my 2018 speech, I spoke about the digital monitors to be installed in every vehicle, every piki-piki. That project was delayed. I don't know why it delayed. General Tumwine was handling it. Even Katumba was involved in that project. This morning I was talking with the new Minister of State for, proposed Minister for Internal Affairs, David Mose. What happened to my project? Why has it not been implemented? Because I don't want any more wasting time in investigations. Every vehicle must have a digital monitor. Every piki-piki must have a digital monitor, centrally monitored. If you try to remove it, we shall see you and go for you. You touch it like this, the system will show us that somebody is trying to remove that digital monitor. And the digital monitor will show us where you are at any one time if we are interested in you. We have no interest in your clandestine activities. As long as you are not near the scene of the crime. As soon as there is a crime, we go. Which vehicles were here? So instead of wasting time, this one, wait, no, it will be much easier. So I really demand, this is I have told General Mhozi, the CDF and Minister designate for Minister of State, to check what has happened to that plan, because we would not be wasting time looking here. No. Which vehicle was here? Which vehicle, which piki-piki was here when this happened? Then we shall not be wasting time. It's not really that difficult to stop these parasites. I call them a name which I call them, you know, the other four-legged animal. It's not me, it is Jesus. Jesus is the one who said so in the Bible. He said, don't put your valuable things before pigs. Because the pigs don't appreciate value. So if you put value before pigs, they will trample on the valuable things. The third solution is forensic capacity. Forensic. Criminals will never commit a crime and not leave a trace. It's not possible. Even these criminals who shot at Katumba, they were seen. One of them dropped a handkerchief, a cloth, dropped a cloth. It is on the videos. Lokech told me. I haven't seen those. I've not watched, but Lokech told me. So one of them dropped a cloth, but our people picked the cloth and took it away. The villagers, when they come, they should not have touched that cloth, because that cloth has got all the story about you, the thief. It has got your DNA, your sweat. You sweat there a little. We shall take it to the laboratory. The DNA will tell us this was Museveni who was here. So the forensic capacity of the police has now improved. We can quickly, but you must respect the scene of crime. The person who took the cloth, Yat Korabubi. And if you still have it, please, bring it back. Although you have added your own sweat and your own what, maybe there's still some chance of, if you have not washed it, there may be a chance of helping us. Now, one of the techniques we developed after 2018, after this one, I got it from the police. I didn't know. The police are the ones who told me. They call it fingerprinting the guns. I didn't know that each had its own fingerprint. But these policemen knew. They told us in our security meetings, yeah, but we can fingerprint the guns. So I said, okay, you do it now. So they have fingerprinted most of all the, I think either all or most of the guns in Uganda. And what Lokech is telling me, they have already known the fingerprint of these guns which were used in the Katumba incident. They have already known the fingerprints. Then we have got other digital means which I don't want to talk about because the criminals are also listening. So I about everything. Kandekerao. But also, when it becomes necessary, the alertness of the public. Because if the public is alerted, although I don't want you to really be on tension, you can be doing your things, you dancing, you jumping. Continue with your things if it was not for Corona. But when you need you to be alert, we shall mobilize you. Like we did in the massacre. The other day when I was giving the Corona speech, I brought one of my girls, the one who helped us to kill Chidawarime, the one who was killing people in massacre. that was because of the mobilization of the public. So I don't want Uganda, therefore, we are working very hard. The new team of security, the new Minister of Internal Affairs, the Minister of Security, I want them to solve the issue of digital monitoring. Uganda to be a land of bodyguards, what? No, 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 no. We should not have bodyguards going with us all over the place. We should have collective eyes which can see me. I will be guided by the collective. So this bodyguarding and all that convoy is what? This is just temporary because we still have those gaps in the security infrastructure. Therefore, the schemers of insecurity are wasting their time. They only provoke us to wake up and create more capacity. Like in Karamoja, there are people who are making a mistake. They will see what will happen to them. Because I have got to the reports. I want those pharaohs, the ones who are working with the Turkanas, to stop. I also contact His Excellency Kenyatta. Those characters who are working with the Turkanas and then they steal cows, go and hide them in Kenya. Kenya these are our brothers. We shall go for you jointly with I would appeal to His Excellency Kenyatta to deal with those criminals in Karamoja. They will see it will stop. We increased the army strength. We had brought down army strength to 40,000 in the past because we didn't want to have, but now we have scaled up to a higher figure, and we can scale up if it becomes necessary. Now, the attack on Katumba was not an ordinary crime. It's not that it's crime. No, no, no. This was a definite political motive, and we shall know which pig was behind this one, because there are different pigs. Now, this business, people who use assassination, these are people who are not sure of themselves. They are the ones who use assassinations. NRM never uses assassinations because we are sure of ourselves. Why should I kill you because you are opposing me? Why? If I am right and you are wrong, why do I kill you? I should preserve you so that you continue making your mistakes. And then the people see that I am the one who is right and you are the one who is wrong. When you kill somebody, actually you save him. Because when somebody dies, oh, that man would have done us very good things if he had lived. Maybe the man would have done nothing. But you kill him, you make him a hero. Because you don't allow him to do what he wants. You do what you want to do, let him also do what he wants. So that the people can see who is right and who is wrong. Now there are so many people I would have killed because they were annoying me. One of them is Sisi Ogwar. Sisi Ogwar, I used to call her Dako Marach, the bad woman, because she had really a bad tongue. But if I had killed Socioeconomic would be a hero now. People would be saying, if Socioeconomic had not died, great things would have happened. But now, I'm here with Socioeconomic, people, it's really bankrupt to kill people. The Besigye, if I had killed Besigye, Besigye would be a hero in the memory of the people. Oh, Besigye would have done a big thing if he had lived, but he was killed. That's how Jesus became a hero. If those Romans had not killed Jesus, I don't know what would have happened. So, bankrupt. If you see groups which use assassination, those are bankrupt groups. That means they are not sure. Why should I kill you? I am sure of what I am saying. You continue saying what you are saying, but say it peacefully. Please don't disturb our peace. Then we shall see who is right. If you are right, I will join you. I will leave what I'm doing and join you. If I'm right, you join me. What is the problem? Why should I kill anybody just because we don't agree? Now, the ministers have brought to you a list of ministers and vice president and prime minister and deputy prime ministers. I hear that many of you are Christians, but many people do not understand Christianity very well, although they talk about it. Jesus, when he started his movement, there were intellectuals. They were called Pharisees, highly educated people. There were other people called Sadducees. There were others called Levites. These were all, I don't know, I would ask the Archbishop to help us with describing to us those highly educated people. But Jesus went for the fishermen. Jesus did not recruit Pharisees. He did not recruit Levites. He did not recruit the other one, Sadducees. He went for Simon Peter. And he went for the... Of course, he had also some intellectuals, because I'm told that Luke was a doctor. So please, when you look at my list, know that I'm in the path of Jesus Christ. But my list, because I was underground, I was working alone because, you know, these things are quite, when you are comparing the risk, you are under very big threat. So I was operating underground alone. This is one area where I don't need assistance. Now there is one. Of course, it's a fantastic and pleasant job. You are so good. So many of you are so good. I don't know what to do. I look at this one, I say this one. But now the tribe, now the religion, the balance. In 1953, 52, I attended a pre-primary in a girls' school where we were only 4 boys. To be in a girls' school when you are boys, please, we really suffered. Those girls can be very bad. So in 1953, I graduated from 1B to 1A. And I went to the primary school, the P1 proper. And that's where I learned all the, what do they call them, these multiplication, dividing, those signs, the dividing, the subtracting, the adding. That's why I learned those. Now, in forming the cabinet, I really used those. I was adding, subtracting, then dividing, then coming back. So in the process, and the people are so good, really the NRM has done a fantastic job. You MPs, you are wonderful. You are a wonderful crop. So when I'm looking there, it's all my Endari. This one, but this one is good. But I must get the limited number. So in my short list, I had got somebody, one of our people, Kabyanga, who was recently our mayor in Kasese. He is on my short list, but in the final, because when I surfaced, when I came from underground, and I called Omona and one of my secretaries, said, you type this for me, because I was hiding from. Then I forgot the Kabyanga's name, but I would appeal, I want you to, Kasese must have somebody. Kabyanga's name was there, but because of that being underground, there are some disadvantages in being underground, but also some advantages, because I surprised you. I surprised you with all my fishermen, my what. Now, in Amos Rugorobi's speech, which is a wonderful speech, as you heard, well delivered, on page 7, page 7, para 20, that's where you have the Banyankwere proverb. Banyankwere proverb, omugwera katweka enyanja A madman set fire to a swamp. And you know swamp grass does not burn easily. But it, Kuwarawaruka is burst, not burn properly, but somehow. So the NRM is like the madman. We have been struggling against social underdevelopment. Now, in paragraph 20, there is some evidence that although the swamp is not fully burnt, it has at least Kubarabaruka. Because the Honorable Gorobi read, Mr. Speaker, the recently concluded household survey reports that poverty has declined from 21.4% in 2016-2017 to 20.3% in 2019-2020. Okay, that's interesting, but not as important as the next one. Poverty rates reduced in West Nile, Bunyoro, and Elgon regions, among others. However, 39% of Ugandan households are still in subsistence economy. You may not understand the importance of this. This is not a negative statement. The way it is written, it sounds negative, but actually it is positive. Because you remember, in 2013, 68% of the homesteads were in the subsistence economy. 68% were in subsistence economy. Now we are being told that according to the recent household census, only 39% are still in the household, what do you call it? Subsistence economy. Oh, which means now 61% are in the money economy. It is the 39 who are still in the subsistence. This is great news. This is great news. We have really done something in the last, because you remember we started in 2013. That's when we started this campaign. And people were saying, but the things we are giving, where are they going? The operation rate creation has been giving. Because I was still using the old figures of 68% in homestead income. Now, apparently it's not that. What we have done has not been for nothing. People have moved in the money economy now. The household are 61%. It is the 39 which are still in the subsistence economy. That means we are really moving. But it may not be clear if you are not as alert as I was when he was reading. Now, finally, 2 points. The Honorable Gorobi was talking about the human capital, the training, the what. But another very happy phenomenon. Recently, I met some young people, doctors, led by a young girl, a doctor, Emukenyi, who is a doctor. Do you know Bakenyi, you people? Many of you don't know our country. Yeah. But this young Mukenyi doctor and her colleagues, who came with some elders, including Professor Maswa, they said, now we have a new problem. I said, what is the new problem? There are too many doctors, they can't get jobs. I said that cannot be true. We cannot have a problem of too many doctors, that some of them are not absorbed, they don't get jobs. So they stay floating on the streets. That one will be cured immediately. I didn't know. If we have got too many doctors, we are now going to have doctors at the sub-county. You remember Health Center 3? How can we say we have got too many doctors? I told Professor Maswa, have you told these young people what WHO tells us? WHO tells us that we should be having one doctor for every 500 population. So since Uganda now is 40, I think they are using the figure 42 million, it means we should be having 84,000 doctors. But we are talking over only something like 5,000 in the government service. So the new minister, the new minister of health, the new prime minister, please, I don't want to hear the issue of unemployed doctors. Every doctor who qualifies must be taken on by the government. And then we scale them down to the sub-county. Let's have a doctor at each sub-county, not one. Because if you say the sub-counties are just 2,000, actually, 2,000. So if we have a doctor, one at the sub-county, that means we absorb 2,000. If we get at the sub-county, so that we don't have patients coming from the sub-county to the district. No traffic of disease should be blocked there. Only referral cases should come to the health center 4, because at that time we had few doctors. We had gone up to the health center 4, but since we have got many doctors now, let's go down to health center 3. Have 1, have 2, have 3, and build up, so that all the diseases are localized. We don't have to have this traffic to Kampala, to Morago, to what? No. Let all the diseases be handled in Ntungamo, Mtibesha too. That's what they used to call Ntungamo, the sub-county. The sub-county where I was born. Now, finally, in Mr. Gorobi's speech, there was one thing which I think we may have to look at. The 8% tax on the fish maw, I don't know how to pronounce it, but they call it enuni in Uganda, the fish bladder. That fish bladder apparently is very much in high demand in some places, in China especially. And with my people, you remember the other time in the State of the Nation, I told you that Uganda can earn $156 billion each year from this fish maw. Now, one of the problems we have, which I want to write to the President of China about, is that China has put a tax on this fish maw entering China. So if you also put another tax here, I think we're undermining ourselves. I want to write to the President of China to ask him to remove the import tax on the fish maw. Now here you are putting a tax. That's not correct. I think we should do. And we are going to introduce we can create many jobs. The Minister of Fisheries of State, Helen Adoa, she knows the story. She knows the story of how we can use this fish maw to create a lot of jobs. So with these few words, I congratulate the Honorable Amos Rugorobi for reading the speech on my behalf. He has relieved me of the burden of having to read the speech myself. And you can see how I am learning how to exploit younger people. You exploit them, let them be able to do the work. And you just watch from behind, you see how they are doing the work. Many of these people, some of these people I have nominated to you, I have been studying them for a long time, and you know more about them. Some of them have got very good qualities. The loyalty, they don't have endari, eyes which are squinted. Looking this, you don't know whether he's looking at you or looking at. Hardworking, not corrupt. So I thank you. I congratulate the Honorable Amos Rugorobi for his speech. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for fulfilling your constitutional obligation. And now this august House and the whole country have picked the main points of the policies and development plans that we have in place for this next year. Honorable members, let me confirm one thing before I adjourn. I wish to confirm that the issue of the list that the President has been talking about, I wish to confirm that he had made it very secretive, to the extent that even the Speaker did not know about it. Today, Your Excellency, when we started the debate on the motion for a resolution of Parliament to vary the number of cabinet ministers and other ministers in accordance with the Constitution, the issue arose that why are we debating this when the list is already out? Mr. Speaker, you must be in possession of this list, and now you are presiding over a Parliament that is going to be a mere rubber stamp because you have already taken a decision on this matter. By the grace of God, Your Excellency, I had not yet received the list. So that worked in my favor. So I honestly told this House that I have not seen the list. And truthfully, I have not seen the list. I think this now goes to the story of the first shall be last. I'll be the last to receive the list. Everybody has the list. And you can even see how he has cleverly done with the estimates. That letter I received in exercise of the powers vested in the President by Article 99(1) and 4 of the Constitution, I have directed Honorable Amos Rugorobi, the Member of Parliament for Ntenjero North, Kayunga District, to lay before Parliament on my behalf these estimates. No mention of any other thing. And even when he's congratulating him, he's still very careful about calling him anybody else. Mr. President, give me that list so that we become comfortable. All these members you are saying Vice President designate, you don't mention a name. Prime Minister designate, you don't mention a name. People are still wary about what the situation really is. That being said, honorable members, you will recall that in the past, we used to have cocktails immediately after the budget. We also used to have group photographs immediately after these great speeches, budget and state of the nation. But due to COVID, this is not very possible now. But I'm going to seek the indulgence of the President to allow at least some photography to take place. and I'm requesting him to allow us take a picture with yourself, sir, the First Lady, the Speaker, the Chief Justice, the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Ogolobi, the person who read the budget speech, the Clerk to Parliament, and the Sergeant at Arms. Also already brought before this House, designated, not just designated, but approved, Leader of the Opposition and the Chief Opposition Whip. I'm not sure if I say Prime Minister designate, I don't know who will come. Because the way the President has just said, Prime Minister designate. There was no name. So if you suspect that you are the one, I'm going to put you on the list of Government Chief Whip designate. If you know you are the one, or you suspect reasonably to be the one, you can show up. The Vice President designate. Please, if you feel you are the one, march forward and take this picture with the President and the Prime Minister designate. These are the people I'm proposing could join you in the photograph. But if you are not sure, please remain where you are. Finally, sir, the Appointments Committee was established this morning. We are trying to be very innovative in the way we handle business. We recall that on the 4th of this month, we handle our members of the Pan-African Parliament within the State of Nation address. That was part of the innovation we created. Today was just supposed to be the budget speech, but we also, on the order paper, added items like approval of the appointment committee and the motion on varying the number of cabinet ministers and other ministers. This is part of the innovation. So we now have an appointment committee in place, ready to process the list that will submit to Parliament accordingly. So we are essentially ready. So I'm hereby calling upon members of the Appointment Committee that there will be a meeting on Monday. All of you should be there, whether we're going to start the approval processes or just prepare the ground rules. So now we're going to proceed. Monday, 11 o'clock, please come. We'll be meeting in the conference hall in Parliament. Honorable members, the situation of COVID has become really, really bad. As you are aware, the second wave of COVID-19 has escalated in the country with several persons infected. The second wave is highly infectious and very deadly. Parliament as an institution has been affected, with some members and some staff currently sick and on treatment for COVID-19. I therefore would like to remind the members that Parliament has a medical insurance scheme that should be helpful to you. Kindly seek immediate medical attention should you feel unwell. You are advised to stay away from duty should you develop COVID-19 symptoms until you are tested. Always keep the Parliament medical team and the Office of the Speaker or Deputy Speaker informed. In the interim, access to Parliament shall be closed to the members, staff and the public on Saturday 12th and 13th June 2021 to allow for fumigation of the precincts of Parliament to be done. Honorable members, once again, I want to thank you for the usual civility you have demonstrated in the course of this budget speech. I am thankful to you. And when the President says we have got a good breed this time, I agree with him that we will do work for the people of this country, focusing on the national interest and better service delivery for our people. Our job is cut for us to cause socio-economic transformation in this country, make our people better than they are at the moment. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, we have to formally close this sitting, but today is not like the other sitting we started in the morning. So now I want to formally go to the process of adjourning the whole proceedings. At this moment, if you would like to leave, sir, I would suspend the House and let you go while I prepare to now close the House a little later. We do the photograph.
Ladies and gentlemen, viewers of UBC TV, once again I want to thank you so much for being part of the national budget reading today at the Independence Grounds here in Kololo. Now, it is the first budget being read from here. Remember, this is all happening in the wake of COVID-19, and more so the second wave that seems to be spiraling and taking a very big toll on Ugandans. So we need to be very careful as we follow trends and events here in the country and of course globally. Now, the Honorable Lugolobi, Minister Designate or an incoming Minister, State for Planning, in the Ministry of Planning, Finance and Economic Development, has read the budget. It is his first budget to read. Remember, the Minister, the appointed Minister or the Minister Designate for Finance, the Honorable Matia Kasaija of Buyanja, read 5 budgets in the previous term, but also read the last budget during Honorable Maria Chwanka's term. Remember, the Honorable Maria Chwanka, when she was appointed Minister of Finance, she read 4 budgets, and what would have been her 5th budget was Honorable Matia Kasaija's first budget. And the Honorable Matia Kasaija honorably read all the 5 budgets for the term that he served as Minister of Finance, and by the grace of God, again, he was reappointed, still in the same docket. And so it surprises so many people, but remember, he's not sworn in, and the President has a discretion constitutionally to choose a member of Parliament to read the budget on his behalf. And so the honor today went to the Honorable Amos Lugolobi, who has also served as the Budget Committee Chairperson in Parliament for quite a long time. And of course, his knowledge on budget affairs and budget issues is what nobody can doubt. He's read it, and His Excellency the President has repeatedly and severally thanked him and recognized him for that reading of the budget. So he goes in record, of course, for also having had an opportunity to read to the nation the budget which just happened today. Now, the tradition of having a group photograph of members of Parliament has since because of COVID-19. And so, as you can see, the Speaker has read out just a few names of the President and the First Lady, the Vice President Designate, Prime Minister Designate, the Speaker of Parliament, Parliament, the Chief Justice, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, 2 members from the opposition, the leader of opposition, the Honorable Mathasi Mpuga, the opposition Chief Whip, the Honorable J.B. Anambeshe from Anjia in Bududa, and of course the Honorable Amos Elugolobi, who read the budget this afternoon, together with the Clerk to Parliament and the Sergeant at Treaty, suggested or recommended that partner states or partner countries will read the budget on the same day. And what you see happening here in Uganda is what has also happened in Nairobi, Kenya, and also in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. Now, for the other partner states, countries like Burundi, their financial years run during the month of January, and South Sudan, one of the new entrants into the fraternity, has not yet harmonized their budget reading to coincide with the rest of the countries that form the East African community. So that's what it is like. Now, to maybe just get you through briefly, we will sing the national anthem and see the president off, then we'll get back to discussion. Thank you very much. And that now marks the end of today's budget reading here at the Independence Grounds in Kololo. And like I said earlier on, the Honorable Amos Lugolobi had the honor to present and to read this budget on this day on behalf of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Like I told you, 3 East African countries have read their budgets on this particular day today. And joining me here is the Member of Parliament representing Nakawa East, the Honorable Subuga Barimwezo. Well, I want to thank you so much, Engineer Barimwezo. This is the first time that you are attending a budget speech as a Member of Parliament. Sure. Let me hear your thoughts, because you've been watching budget speeches from the comforts of your home. Now you are a Member of Parliament seated there, and the budget is being read before you. Let me hear your thoughts on the budget that has just been read this afternoon.
There are a few things that I have loved from the budget, most importantly on energy. Energy, it is thought that people are going to be given free connections, and I think that is good. Then secondly, the tariffs are supposed to reduce so that we can be able to at least save our forests, because most of the times we usually find deforestation going on because of biomass. So by us at least getting affordable tariffs, we shall be able to save our forests so that we don't expend money on planting more trees. Okay. The other thing is that, military security has been given a lot of money, 6.9 trillion. And yet currently we have our health sector going so low. When you look at the 576 billion of money that has been allocated to COVID, and yet COVID is now the pandemic that is killing our people, I believe that security would have not taken that much, so that we can basically secure a little more money for our people.
Honorable Nsubuga, on that particular one, I've been following the budget in Kenya, and on security itself, they've put Kenya shillings, 170 billion shillings, which translates into about 5.5 trillion Uganda shillings. Looking at Uganda at 6 trillion and Kenya at 5.5 trillion, don't you think that both countries in the region have seen security and governance as one of those things that need to have a lot of money to manage all the other issues?
But you realize that Kenya is at more risk because of Somalia, which is close to them, than Uganda. Currently, as we speak, we have no war at all. We don't expect any war in the nearest future. And we believe that the greatest now insecurity that we have is that of the disease, and particularly COVID, that is taking our people. So we should have invested more on COVID, on fighting COVID, because we need a healthy community. It is the healthy community that is productive, that will be able even to meet the budget. Okay. Otherwise, if our people are not healthy, we shall expend lots of money on them. And eventually we lose out on meeting the targets of our budget.
Just before I let you go, Honorable Nsubuga, you will notice that this budget was passed by the 10th Parliament sometime in May, before you took oath of office and before you came in. It's a budget that was passed, but of course you're supposed to debate it after this budget speech. What are going to be your feelings on the floor of Parliament? Do you think certain things need to be adjusted here and there, or it is something that we need to support for the good of all our people?
You know, there is a lot that the 11th Parliament has got to do on this budget, because we usually pass the supplementary budget. I know where there are gaps. We shall have to basically pass the supplementary, but we have to critically look at it and advise and debate it, so that people may get to know the value of having a good budget. Yes.
Finally, I just want to say sorry to you and to ask you to accept our condolences. We heard you lost your mother. She succumbed to COVID-19.
Yes, I want to inform my communities that COVID is real, and it is only when you get a patient that you realize that you have to do a lot, particularly in fighting COVID. Yes, it's real.
Okay. Please accept our condolences from Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, and we want to wish you all the best. Now, joining me here is the Opposition Chief Whip, the Honorable J.B. Nambeshe, a Member of Parliament representing the people of Manjia County in Bududa, in Elgon. Congratulations, first and foremost, for your appointment as the Opposition Chief Whip. And just briefly, before you get to the Parliament, what are these eminent plans that you have as the Whip of the Opposition? Will you manage the task and the job?
Yeah, actually, I know the people who have entrusted me with this responsibility have confidence in me, and they trust that I'll measure to the expectations. As a matter of fact, mine is simply to be an intermediary between the leadership of opposition, or you have a number of parties, and then the members. And then I have to work in a full liaison with the colleagues, whips of these other parties. We have a party like FDC, it has a whip. We have UPC, we have DP. We have even the PPP. He whips himself by virtue of...
And the Vassalira is one, so he whips himself.
Representation of a party in the parliament according to the Administration of Parliament Act. That one automatically becomes a whip of her own self. And so is my brother Asumani Vassalira. He's a whip of his own self for the party of Jema. So I know all this, we know each other, and we are interacting well. And it is about ensuring attendance of parliament by members and even the proceedings, and especially during voting, to ensure that members of the opposition are present.
As opposed to the other new members of parliament who just came in, and of course this has been their first time to be part of such an event, you were in the 10th parliament, and you debated, you discussed, and you're one of those that passed this particular budget that we talk about sometime in May. What are your feelings and thoughts about the budget itself, as opposed to the others who have just had it being read here? You contributed to making it. Is it a pro-people budget? Is it a good budget according to you, and will it give us the desired aspirations?
This budget is not people-centric, as a matter of fact, and we, a minority, we have had our say on it was passed, and the majority, of course, had their way of passing it in the form it way. The lion's share are three in this budget. Debt payment of both domestic and foreign debt is huge. It is about 22 trillion. And besides that, another lion's share goes to security. Moreover, Uganda is not in any state of war. And three, infrastructure development. And that is not the priority for the Mwananchi. If it were for a people budget, it should have looked at the resilient sectors, and especially this pandemic that is ravaging the entire world, COVID-19. Which has actually inflicted devastating effects on the economy, has already showed to us that the resilient sector was one. I must say two. Agriculture remained. If it were not for agriculture in Uganda, many...
Because the virus does not affect agriculture.
And indeed, people continued even in the lockdown to till their land. And that helped a great deal during shutdown, during lockdown. It was a sector that should have been given... All manner of focus should have been concentrated on that sector. But look at the parliamentary budgetary allocation that has been given to that sector. Meaning that the government in power doesn't know the priority of the people. And two, health as a sector in the face of this ravaging pandemic should have received a lot more allocation to improve on the healthcare services. As we talk with the new variants, we are reliably being informed that numbers, these hospitals that are attending to the COVID-19 patients are overwhelmed by numbers. Meaning that they don't have the facilities, they do not have the equipment, they do not have the drugs, they do not have the capacity, therefore, to contain the ravaging pandemic. Now we are talking of COVID-19, but there are new variants. Maybe we have also COVID-20, and could be COVID-2021.
No, it's 19 with variants. It's just 19 with variants.
Well, they have come in the years, in those 2 years. So they should also receive their baptismal name. 2020, we have a variant of 2021. Then since we are still expecting many more mutations, then 22 will also come. But the challenge that Ugandans have to grapple with are the misplaced priorities by government. How do you give a whopping quality? And besides that, there is also classified. Classified funding or funds do not allow you to know the breakdown. So all that money, is it to procure nuclear and to hit who? To hit the pandemic?
But you've also heard that during times of peace is when you plan for war. You do not wait for a war to break up, then you start procurement of equipment and the vessels that you need for a particular combat.
Would you say for sure that Uganda is in peace? Uganda is having peace of mind? Because peace of mind, absence of war does not necessarily mean that there is peace or presence of peace. The people of Uganda, given the challenges that they are going through, that they are grappling with in the face of the pandemic, given the economy that is now punching below its weight, we are actually faced with a recession. This parliament, unlike other parliaments, is discussing expanding spending, public spending, instead of ensuring that we nip in the bud those government inefficiencies, we cut back wasteful expenditure and then widen the tax base so that the economy could help the Ugandan to have good health care, help the Ugandan even to educate the child. But as we talk, all funding going to security because in the name of peace that you are preparing for war in advance. When you are not, how do you prepare in anticipation?
Well, I just...
rules of procedure, even preparing in anticipation itself is a breach.
We need to look at your minority report, but I want to thank you so much, the Honorable J.B. Nambeshe.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Nambeshe is the government, I beg your pardon, he's the opposition chief whip, and of course these are his thoughts and feelings about the budget that has just been read this afternoon here. And of course joining us here is another legislator, and to also hear from him what he thinks about the budget that has just been read today in relation to the aspirations of the government and of course the needs of the people. What do you have to say about the budget, Honourable Member of Parliament?
Yeah, thank you, Honourable Katenya Isaac, Member of Parliament for Bulambuli constituency. Well, the budget has got so many key things, especially on the issue of security. It has catered well, but there is a need to increase the budget for agriculture because Uganda being an agri-based economy, operating an agri-based economy, the industries are agri-based. I think there is a need to increase. I'm happy that the President has increased money on infrastructure, especially roads. Like for me in Bulambuli constituency, I think I call upon him to increase the money in district roads because the money which is allocated to districts is very little. Each district is given only 200 million. If we could allocate close to 1 billion per district, I think we could work on all feeder roads and we would not be crying of roads anymore.
Do you think that this particular budget that is supposed to drive the new model, which is called the Parish development model, do you look at it as very good to that and of course fulfilling the 18 priorities in this particular model for the better of the people of Uganda? That for this particular time, we'll actually say this is for us.
Yes, I think the most important thing is when we budget for this money, it should be seen in the people. It's unfortunate if we budget for the money and we don't see it on the ground. But if in the case the money is allocated and it goes back to the people in the villages or parishes, and we as members of Parliament, as overseers, will ensure that the money does the work it's supposed to do because it's going to help alleviate poverty in our people. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I want to thank you so much, Honorable Member of Parliament from Bulambuli.
Yes, we are most welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Well, the budget has just been read, and of course you can hear different thoughts from the different members of Parliament, and of course what they think and feel about this particular budget that has been read. But what you also need to know that this particular budget is also the first budget for our National Development Plan 3, which we of course launched last year, and now just looking at it come on now with a new anchor model in there called the Parish development model. Now when you go to countries in the region, Kenya has read their budget today, Tanzania has read their budget today, and remember in Tanzania, for example, their budget that has also been read today is a budget, the anchor budget for their third national development plan, of course in Tanzania, because they have also a 5-year plan, and of course this is the first budget of that. to see how it really gets there. But when you get to the comparisons, of course, of the budgets that have been read across the region, lots of things, of course, come in here, and these are to do with the priorities of what has what particular economy put where. And of course, it also talks about the different economies, because you'll notice that even when we are here as East Africans and we all read our budgets today, you'll notice that our economies are not working the same, and our economies are not at the same par in strength as you may see or you may get to. But by and large, somebody may, I think, or may conclude that yes, it is a budget that is for people because of the priorities that have been set. And for most economists, or for most people who talk about these issues, will actually tell you that this particular budget will give them the aspirations. Let me talk to the Honourable Member of Parliament here. Thank you so much for attending today's budget reading. You're live on UBC TV, and we just want to hear from you. Your thoughts, Honourable Minister, about the budget that has just been read.
Thank you, people. I think, to me, I'm more interested in my area of fisheries. I'm a Minister of State for Fisheries, designated. I'm looking forward in sharing with His Excellency more about the fish more, because fish more and our water bodies are the resource that can generate more money to our country. And the fisheries especially should be able to do more than even oil. You know, we are looking at oil in 225, but with the water bodies, we can get money daily to make sure that our young people get employed in factories, especially with the fish more, which is more of white gold. We want to give holidays to our lakes so that they improve. Our lake resource improves.
They've always castigated government for not putting enough money into the budget for agriculture. You know very well that Uganda ratified the Maputo Declaration, or the Maputo Protocol, over 203 that talks about putting or funding 10% into the national budgets. And over the years, of course, we talk about 10 plus years. We've not achieved that, and it's a commitment that we signed. Do you think that someday, sometime, we'll actually push to the limits and at least not achieve 10, but get somewhere close to 10?
Yes, especially on the side of Minister of Agriculture. You see, for me, I feel Minister of Agriculture should always have bigger budget than any other. Of course, we have other sectors like education, but when you are secure with the food is needed everywhere. When we are secure, for example, now, you know, rains have become scarce. You can imagine we don't have any reserve. We don't have any food stores. We don't have. So at the end of the day, we need a good budget for agriculture. What I can only suggest is that if there was a way we could be able to fund more, like as they say, private sector, private people who do much in agriculture. And I feel if they are funded, if they are supported, as the budget was being read, they talked about Uganda Development Bank. Yes, if they can give more money to even individuals, if these private people who can be able to have in all corners and reserve food and make more food for the country, I feel that would be good.
Okay. I want to thank you so much and to also congratulate you upon your reappointment.
Thank you. Thank you. I thank His Excellency for trusting me within 1.5 years when he gave me this to manage this docket. I feel I was able to do something. And now that he has entrusted me more, I am ready to support him to change the docket.
Thank you so much, Honourable, and of course, congratulations. Let me talk to the Honourable Member of Parliament, Shamim Malende, representing the people of Kampala. You are very welcome. First and foremost, congratulations for having made it to Parliament, and I know that there may be lots of issues that you are not comfortable with in the budget. That for sure I know. But what are you comfortable with in the budget? What do you think has actually been done ably well? What do you think has actually been done well that you will thank government for?
What's in the budget is they were trying to give up. They gave us a recap of how, you know, economically we have progressed. That is according to the GDP. I think that is economics and all that. But again, they are also trying to show that they're going to put more money towards the fight against the COVID pandemic. I think that issue is very positive because COVID is a problem everywhere. It's a problem worldwide. So if they put this money there, but they also try to ensure that they implement, they follow up on that money and the resources allocated, I think that can be very good health-wise. Yeah.
How do you feel having attended this event? Because this is your first time to stay here for this particular event. And what is your expectation now thereafter from what we've seen?
This is actually the third sitting of the 11th Parliament that I'm attending, but I expect so much. But the most important thing is that I expect the Honourable Speaker to give all the parties and all the individuals, Honourable Members of Parliament, the opportunities to speak for their people, and so that everyone is ably represented. Okay. Yes.
If you had an opportunity to decide or choose the priority where you think you would put a lot of money, which sector of government would you give much more money, and how much would you give to that particular sector?
First of all, it's about now economically revamping, yeah. So that economic assistance to the different groups, because people have been affected economically. But I also look at the women and the health issue, the health sector, because you know there are no medicines, the maternal deaths and all that. So we really have a problem everywhere. So the issue of social and economic development, including the education sector, all are important issues. Of course, I can state the security issue, but I think that is an issue that now this regime is failing to really do with. So I really think that maybe it should just pass to other people to handle, because the security issue seems now to be a problem every now and then. Okay. Yes.
And your fellow colleagues are castigating government for putting money into security, and yet you seem to say there are issues with security. So why don't you just say kudos to government for pumping in money to make sure that we are secure?
I think the problem is not pumping money into the security, but the concern of the opposition and these other colleagues that are dissenting is how the funds are used in the security. They're saying that, you know, too much force is being used on the opposition people to oppress Ugandans and all that. So I think that is the issue. No one would have a problem with equipping security better for the safety of our country and everyone else's liberty. But the issue is how does security use its power? Okay. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Honorable Shamim Malende. Thank you so much. Honorable Shamim Malende represents Kampala District, Kampala City, as the District Woman Member of Parliament. Honorable, you're live on UBC TV, and I'm happy to have you. What are your thoughts and your feelings about the budget that has just been read this afternoon?
This budget, my name is Kamakech Christopher, Aro County, Pade District. The budget is a picture basically of what the president is looking to do in this financial year. In this financial year, you look at his plan for the cabinet, the lineup, and you look at the budget, he's looking onto working with the common people. Look at his cabinet, he said with surprise, he's going to fish people on the ground. The budget cuts down corruption. This high rate of bureaucracy is going down, bringing parish model into the system. He's looking at working with the parish model and the cabinet. I wait to see. It's optimistic. Yeah.
Well, how about the priorities themselves? Are you happy with the priorities that government set?
Priority one, security is going down. We are good with security. I won't say we are perfect, but we are almost there. He's prioritizing production. Now, this production is what's going to increase the economy up. When you look at the production rate, then you look at the parish model, it's that poor man down there who is going to bring in the economy going up. When you bring in the money to the poor man down, the production is up. When the production goes up, industrialization prices. So everything's on the road. That grassroots where production is, it's where it's supposed to.
To you, is the parish development model a good idea? Is it a good model? And you look at it as one that will help elevate there's so many millions of Ugandans who are living in poverty.
I've never been excited about anything in Uganda like the parish model. One thing you should always look at, every time development was coming, it would enter the sub-county. We are done with the sub-county, we are coming to the parish level. As long as we can have parish chiefs in every parish, the parish model is going to be a success, and we cap on down the corruption.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Honorable Komakech, and I really want to thank you. And also something to the young Honorable here as well. Congratulations, first and foremost. And what are your thoughts about the budget that you just had the Honorable Amos Lugolo read to us?
Thank you so much, UBC. Honorable Paul Nsubuga, MP, Busiro North. Good enough, I came earlier. Everything has been going on. I saw each and everything, and I had to listen to the budget. But only one point I can make about the budget. I know I can say it is balanced, but there is a problem, and it is security versus health. The money that is allocated to security should be the money to be put in health. Why am I saying that? Of course, you've seen now like 600 billions allocated to health, compared to the 6.9 trillions in security. Right now, we are in times of COVID.
Yeah, but you see, Honorable, it's not entirely the 6 billion, the 6 trillion that is going to. It's actually security and governance. So the split, I think, is what we need to get to. But you feel there's a lot of money in security. It shouldn't have been like that. And so you're not happy about that. What are the other things that you feel you're actually happy about in this particular budget?
Oh, the things I'm happy about, actually there is the other system of parish model. The parish development model. Because at least that binds us between the MOP and the voters who voted for us. Because each and every parish is going to share that money. But how effective we
that are going to be built in every sub-county. I'm happy about that. And even the whole socio-economic development, I'm just praying that God brings it to come to pass.
Well, I'll let you go. Thank you so much, Honorable Connie Nakayenze, a Galwango woman member of Parliament for Mbale City. And she's serving her third term, and of course that's where she is. As a teacher, of course, her sentiments have actually gone to a school. Now, when she hears about the recruitment in schools, and I think that's one of the things she feels happy with, and it's one of the things she feels needs to be put in a lot of money, which I think is very good. But of course, remember that this budget also anchors a lot on the parish development model. And you had the Honorable Shamim Malende of the National Inter-Platform, and the Honorable from Busiro, who is also from the National Inter-Platform, all saying this is a very good development plan of the parish development model, which needs to be supported by all of us, because now that government has decided to cascade to the parishes to say how to benefit all of us, this, I think, is something that we need to appreciate and go with. I also want to thank you so much for being part of our budget speech on this particular day here today at the Independence Grounds in Kololo. We now take you back to our broadcast house in our studios on Nile Avenue in Kampala. My name is Jagenda Semakula Zekosoka, wishing you all the best and wishing you a very good evening. For God and my country, stay blessed as we continue inspiring Uganda. Good night.